The next part of the tutorial sessions is going to be looking at CSS or cascading style sheets. So first of all, just a little bit of overview about CSS really. CSS is one of the three main languages that is used in order to create web pages as we know them. HTML is what we've been using previously. Hypertext Markup Language looks at the structure of a web page primarily. CSS will look at the way that a page looks. It's much more powerful than HTML in terms of making your web page look the way that you want it to, trying to make your web page look professional, and it will take longer to learn. And JavaScript, which we won't be doing in this tutorial set, is making your website actually do something. JavaScript is a programming language ultimately. So we're looking at CSS now, and there are three different types of CSS. We're looking inline, which generally for people who are just starting out with HTML is probably the most common. So that will be where you do the styling within the tags in the HTML code. So for example, you specify a body tag and you might say that you want a specific background color with it. You have internal style sheets. Now these are placed within head tags at the top of your page. They're less common, to be honest, because they are very similar in terms of structure to an external style sheet. However, an external style sheet, which is what we're going to use, is potentially used by multiple different web pages rather than just the one web page. So if you're going to do an internal style sheet, my kind of outlook with it is, well, you may as well do an external one, because although you do have to include a line of code which links the external style sheet, you can then use it with further web pages, which should make your life easier. So it says style sheets specify how elements should appear in your web page. So for example, if you want a header 1 tag to appear in blue, then you can do that, and it will just not just appear in the one page, it'll appear in multiple different pages if that's what you desire, if that's what you have set it up as, which is great, because then if you decided that actually you didn't like the blue and you want them all to be red, you change it in the external style sheet and you change it once and it does it for all of them, which is fab. It just makes our life much easier. So what we do is we specify elements within our CSS page, or basically the HTML tags, and then we change properties. So for example, like I said, the header 1 tag we can change to blue or green or whatever, or we can change the different style of it, so it doesn't have to be the default text set by your web browser. In the old days it used to be Times New Roman, it used to look horrendous, but at least these days it does tend to be something like Arial, which is a little bit nicer, I think. Now, you do need to be aware that any inline CSS carries the highest priority. What that means is, obviously with the three types of CSS here, if, let's say for example, you specify those header 1 tags, and then within a specific header 1 you specify something else, then it's the one that will appear inline. So let's say for example that header 1, in your external style sheet you specify the color of that header 1 to be blue, and then in the inline you specify the color to be red, then that particular tag is going to be red, whereas all the others are going to be blue. So you just need to kind of be aware of that really. Also with things like cascading style sheets, there is going to be much more theory behind CSS than what I'm going to go into. I want to really get into the code and start creating some stuff before potentially looking at much more in-depth things like trying to understand a lot more about the theories behind the CSS, like inheritance, for example, in other tutorial sets probably, because that's more of an advanced thing. Whereas in this one I just really want to get into it, want to start making some stuff, want to start applying different actual kind of styles, so you can see this thing working and you can kind of use it and grow some confidence in it before we actually look at some theories behind it. Now, be aware with cascading style sheets, it is going to be harder to learn than HTML. HTML is relatively straightforward. It's relatively forgiving. So, for example, if you open up a set of tags and you don't close the set of tags, the likelihood is that the browser will try and interpret it and will still probably display reasonably accurately. However, with a cascading style sheet, if you start missing things out like semicolons, then what you will find is it won't work at all. So we will find that sometimes as web developers, a lot of our time is spent troubleshooting. So, for example, if something isn't working the way that we expect it to, I've spent hours at a time sometimes trying to find out why something hasn't been working, to find out that there's a semicolon missing or something like that. So just be aware that it does take a little bit longer to learn the cascading style sheets. However, with what we're going to do, hopefully it shouldn't be too bad, because so we are starting out. I'm not going to do anything that is hugely complex. It's kind of just trying to get you started, get you into it, really. But it's always going to be the case that you're going to want to apply this in your own situations. I'm going to show you examples, but ultimately, if you're learning web, it's because you want to do your own websites, and therefore you won't want to do exactly what I'm doing. You want to take what I'm doing and apply it in your own situations. Anyway, that's enough waffle from me on that. Let's get going and actually make some web pages with CSS styling.